Home distillation is a very satisfying and rewarding hobby if you're into problem solving, creative thinking, geekery, science, history, or just enjoying a really good drink. This might be your next obsession, but there are some safety rules that you really need to follow to do this thing properly. Here's the deal, team. Home distillation gets a bad rap from a lot of the general public. But in my experience, home distillation is a whole lot safer than the hobby of smoking meat, as long as you have a little bit of common sense and follow these rules. So if you're thinking of getting into distillation, prove all those normies wrong by following these 9 rules that I'm about to lay out for you. Yes, the whole methanol thing is coming up in this video, and I'm gonna save the most catastrophically dangerous rule for last so we don't scare anyone off early. Let's get stuck in with the first rule, rule number 1. Alcohol over 40% ABV is flammable. Pretty obvious, right? Most people know this, but as home distillers, especially, we can fall into the trap of thinking of alcohol as a beverage and not a chemical to be treated with a little bit of respect. So just remind yourself and be aware that this stuff is flammable, and it can actually burn almost invisible, which makes it even more malicious in a way, because it could be burning and you don't even know about it. Really, this just boils down to common sense and a little bit of respect. If you were standing in a room with petrol spilt on the floor and open jars all over the place, you're probably not going to be sitting there lighting a durry, right? But you do see people doing that with alcohol. Full disclosure here, I'm making a safety video talking about fire safety, and I did something really, really dumb in this video. If you find it, see if you can find a way to let me know that you know without telling everyone else what it is in the comments down below. We'll have a laugh about it. I'll do better next time. If you spill it, clean it up. Be aware that it is the vapor that's really the problem, not the liquid. If you spill liquid, clean it up with a rag. The rag is still flammable. Keep fire safety equipment close and at hand. Don't be a muppet, and think about proper storage of your booze, especially if you're going to be storing it at a higher ABV. Once again, it's super easy to kind of forget what we have on our hands here and think about this stuff just as a drink, not as a freaking poison. I mean, technically it is, right? I'm going to talk about the materials that you should and shouldn't be using soon in terms of protecting the booze. Right now, I'm talking about protecting everything else from the booze. Once again, just think of it as methylated spirits or petrol, and common sense is going to get you there. Label your stuff so you know what it's in. Put it in a place that is secure and can't be gotten to easily. I'm not here to tell you how to be a parent. You know your kid better than I do. It's just something to think about though, all right? Especially if they're young. Or maybe if they're teenagers too, actually. There's that. The last thing I would say to think about on this topic is at least considering earthquake safety. If that big one hits and you're having the worst day of your life, the last thing you want is, man, I'm actually kind of terrified thinking about the volume of high-proof spirits that I have in the shed. And if I wasn't relatively sure that all of my storage solutions aren't just going to collapse immediately, that would be a lot of flammable liquid going all over the place to make your worst day even worse. So just think about it. I am extremely excited, proud, and strangely a tiny bit nervous to show you this. The Distiller Beard Balm and Beard Oil. Check it out. It's our logo all over it. It seemed like an obvious and great idea for a long time to have our own distilling themed beard products, but the opportunity had just never quite made sense until we met the crew from Bearded. Bearded is a local company, just an hour's drive from us, absolutely kicking ass and taking names and making super high quality beard products. After a bit of discussion back and forth with them, Erin and I jumped in the car, drove down to see them to collaborate on a few different product ideas that we thought might be solid. This is what we wanted. Really high quality beard products in packaging that looks amazing, that smells like a distilling alchemist's hideaway. It had to be refreshing and inspiring scent-wise when you put it on, but not linger too heavily and long into the day and mess your sense of smell and taste up. And that is exactly what Bearded created for us. Beard products that smell like juniper, wormwood, green anise, and lemon, my favorite botanicals. It's a tip of the hat to the alchemy, the craft that is distilling. It doesn't feel oily all day like a lot of other beard products, and it definitely helps to keep my beard in better shape. You can buy it directly from chasethecraft.com if you need other distilling supplies to go with it, or bearded.co.nz if you want other beard products to go with it. And we still have the sale running on chasethecraft.com, so now's a great time to buy them for yourself if you're bearded, for someone else in your life if they're bearded, as a Christmas present. We're super excited to be bringing the Distiller Beard products into the world. I hope you enjoy them as well. chasethecraft.com or bearded.co.nz. We've protected ourselves from the booze. Now let's protect the booze from us and our dumb decisions by making sure we're using the proper materials for equipment. Really, there's only a few materials that we should actually be using. Glass, wood. This is US white oak, very nice US white oak, available at chasethecraft.com. Stainless steel, copper, and sparingly PTFE or Teflon. These are all generally accepted to be safe, either as a component of a still, or to be used for storing alcohol and flavoring alcohol afterwards. I gotta say, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite on this because I use silicon in two places. First of all, high-grade silicon gaskets do a better job at sealing components in a still in more situations than the rigid PTFE ones. I do use these anywhere where the still is under kind of stress or load. So on the column going up where there's a whole lot of weight tipping it sideways. I'll also use these cheap silicone gaskets, O-rings, for storing in swing top jars, but I trust these less because they come from Kmart and they're orange, so I wrap them in PTFE quite vigorously. I'll also try and limit this as much as possible to below the point of no return. So if there is potentially something leaching out of these and into the spirit, hopefully the distillation process will help clean that up as well. The science on high quality silicon gaskets and probably a few other materials that people are starting to use now is not entirely solved in my mind, or I haven't seen perfect evidence. It's something that I want to do some work on in the future. When we sell our stills only in America, sorry team for now, on chasethecraft.com, we include both and let you make the decision. It's up to you. Basically, anything that isn't glass, wood, stainless, copper, PTFE, or good quality silicon, I would be dubious about and warn you against using for two reasons. One, it could be leaching stuff out of those materials into the product you're drinking, not good. And two, they might actually degrade over time, and you can imagine if a gasket is degrading over time and starts leaking. We'll get to why that's real bad in a little bit, but not good, yeah? Our materials are sorted. We really need to think about using safe ingredients as well. For distillation, we can be a little bit more cavalier in some of the ingredients we use because we have the distillation itself to kind of make things a little bit safer for us. If you want to look into how crazy that can get, do some research on historical rum production. I have a link down there that you can watch. It gets pretty crazy. Poop. There's poop in it. But that freedom can lead to some new or overly enthusiastic distillers taking this too far and using things that we really shouldn't. The most common example I see semi-regularly of this is people contacting me and asking if they can age their spirit on a wood that is poisonous. Not so great. The latest example I had was a dude from, I think it was South Africa, who was wanting to use cashew wood to age spirit in. Sounds like a great idea. Cashews are delicious. Turns out it's probably not quite poisonous, but there can be severe allergic reactions to it. The long and short of it, team, is if you're thinking about using an ingredient that's not standard, check it against a food safety database first. I'll put links down there for a few of them. Go from there, that's a really good starting point. And the answer to your is it safe to distill when it's a fermentation question, it took too long, it smells funny, all of those things, as long as it actually fermented and the pH dropped, after distilling it, it's almost always fine. Let's talk about proper operation, and I'm not talking about the technical, what you should and shouldn't do stuff here. It's more of a mindset of how to operate a still. Number one, don't leave the thing unattended. I'm not saying you have to sit there and stare directly at it for 12 hours when you're running a big reflux run. That's just not plausible. But what you should do is be in the vicinity 99% of the time. I'll often put a single earbud in, listen to a podcast, do some other jobs around the shed, start shooting video for the next upcoming video, chill out, play a game of chess on my phone, whatever it happens to be, but be in the area so you can notice things that are happening to the still. Make sure nothing is leaking. Of course, liquid dripping out isn't great, but gas, vapor is even worse. Check that your cooling water is flowing as it should be, so you're not just pumping vapor out into the room. Run your still in a well-ventilated area, so if there is a slight vapor leak problem, it's not building up and building up. And if you're new to this or new to the specific still, do a bit of research before you actually turn the thing on and have a good idea of how the still actually runs before you're standing there panicking that things are going wrong and you don't know how to change it, how to work on the still itself. And especially for late night distillation missions, there's nothing better, I think, than having a wee drink, a whiskey, a cocktail, something, booze that you made yourself while you're running the still. There's something kind of beautiful about that. Just take it easy. Don't get absolutely smashed. It's a cool hobby. It is safe, but it does take some focus and attention to do this properly. Number 6, learn the rules before you start breaking the rules. The safety rules should pretty much never be broken, but what I'm talking about is breaking the rules of tradition. One of the most amazing things about this hobby for me is that there is just unlimited scope for doing weird, different, creative, groundbreaking, completely new things. The problem is that the learning curve at the beginning of getting into this hobby is just intense. There's so much you have to learn, and it is very easy for a new distiller to get distracted by trying to do something they want to do before the training wheels should really come off. Like, wait until you understand the basic ideas of distilling. Wait until all of these safety rules are kind of second nature, and then do whatever you want, man. Like, when you come up with some cool stuff, make sure you come back and tell the rest of us about it so we can enjoy it too. Just be a little bit patient with it to make sure you don't do something silly. Number 7, understand heating and your heating options. You could run your still and heat it with gas. Nothing wrong with that per se. I mean, you could, if you really wanted to, heat your still with a wood fire. Both of these things work, and I get if you want to do that for specific logistic reasons. I get that you might want to, be more historically accurate because that's part of the fun of the hobby for you. I totally understand that. But in 2025, I just really struggle to do anything but recommend electric element heating for new distillers. Remember, we're dealing with flammable gas and flammable liquid. And oh, oopsie, I had a little leak. A cuts jar filled up and I didn't see it and it overflowed. And you've got an exposed flame? That's not a good thing. In addition to that, an electric element, for the most part, doesn't run out. You don't have to fill the bottle or get more wood in the middle of a run. And if you have a halfway decent controller, you're going to get a lot more fidelity and finesse out of an electric element than you would out of either of these. But please be aware, when you're using an electric element, you always need to have this element submerged when it's running. And that means when you fill the still up, accounting for the amount of liquid you're going to distill, take out of the pot, and still have it covered. Yes, you could blow your element. That's not great. There is a small chance that this can turn into an ignition point in the still. Make sure the elements are covered. And of course, whatever heating source you're using, make sure you've got a plan to be able to make it a little bit hotter, make it a little bit colder, and you have effectively a kill switch. You can just turn this thing off instantly if you need to. I don't know, you've got a hose nearby that you can douse the fire with if you have to, damn near instantly. Just make sure you can control the amount of energy going into your still, and you can turn it off real quick. All right, team, the next 2 points coming up are the big ones, the ones that the general public always associate with home distilling, and we're going to figure out how to make them essentially null and void. They're not a problem. But first, I almost never write scripts for videos. But for this one, because it's quite a serious topic, I figured I should go through and write bullet points. And even though I did that, I have a gnawing feeling that I've missed something and I can't think what it is. So what I'm going to do is make a comment and pin it to the very top of the comments section. If you've been doing this for a while and you think I've missed a key piece of safety information for home distilling, reply to that comment and give new distillers a tip. That means that all of that information will be in one easy to read place. If you're new, make sure after you watch this video to go and check that as well. So you have all the information you can possibly need. All right, number 8, the big one, methanol. There's no two ways about it. Methanol's bad stuff. It is not good for you. A small amount can make you go blind, and not much more can actually kill you. But here's the thing. The process of distillation cannot create methanol. In fact, it's created in the process of fermentation, which is common. The same in, beer, wine, mead, you get the point, right? Anything that's fermented, it has alcohol in it, there's probably going to be some methanol in there as well. And no one's stressing about those things. If we take the same wash that they use, wine, and distill it, we make brandy. No one worries about the wine, but brandy, if you're making it at home, you're gonna go blind or die. Beer, no one's stressed about. Whiskey, which is beer without hops, that's gonna kill you. The long and short of it, for the most part, is that if the fermented product is safe, then the distilled product is going to be safe as well. Except when we're distilling, we are actively trying to concentrate some chemicals more than others. We want more alcohol and less water, for example. So there is the potential for us to concentrate methanol into a certain part of the run. And if we do that and drink just that part of the run without everything else, sure, you could get in trouble. So always, when you're doing a spirit distillation, the last distillation of a certain product, make good cuts. I'm not going to go into detail exactly how to do that here because there's kind of a few things to it. I'll put a link to a dedicated video talking about cuts. Watch that. Always make cuts. Don't drink the stuff that you should not be drinking by itself that aren't hearts, the beginning or the end of the run, and you're always going to be good. There's a bunch of other chemicals in there, like acetone that come over in the heads predominantly. They taste like ass. They'll make you feel terrible the next day. Just for the love of God, make cuts. Easy. Okay, number 9, the last one. In my mind, this is the big bad. This is the one that you need to take seriously more than everything else. Everything else is important. This one should be the number one thing in your mind every time you distill anything, and that is to never, ever, ever heat a closed system in distillation. We saw what happened when I pretend leaked a little bit of alcohol with an ignition point nearby. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good thing. You don't want that happening in your shed or in your kitchen or whatever. But what would be even worse is to build up pressure and have that pressure release violently and quickly, aka an explosion. Keep in mind that the contents of that still is going to be flammable as well. So if you heat something that is sealed with flammable gas inside, you're going to get an explosion. That's pretty much what's going to happen. And we don't want that. The good news is that all good stills are designed for this just to not be a problem. If you're not sure about your still, and you should be, pull the still out and have a look at it. Mentally think through every part of the still, from the pot all the way through to the collection spout. Is there anything in there that you couldn't just breathe through? Is there anything that you couldn't pass water through. Is there anything that a vacuum cleaner couldn't suck through? You get the idea, right? Sometimes advanced stills will have valves, two-way valves or three-way valves that direct where the vapor goes. Those can be scary if you don't really pay attention to the way that you've got everything set. Other than that, really, for home distillers, it's blockages. So you packed too much copper into an area and then put botanicals on top of it that could kind of pack down and create a blockage. Honestly, it's unlikely, but like I said, it is the biggest, most catastrophic failure that can kind of happen to us. So make sure that you're paying attention to it. The other thing that you should think about here is vapor in the air. Going back to the whole idea of having a well-ventilated space, you just don't even want to mess with that. Make sure you're doing it with the window open next to the still, the door open, and outside, you get the idea. If you have another look at this explosion, you'll notice that there's a bit of a fireball, but there's also flammable liquid going all over the place that then ignites as well, and we end up with an explosion plus fire everywhere. Not good, which leads us to another little mini tip or a major tip that doesn't quite fit in this point, which is to never charge your still with a spirit that is above 40% ABV, because that means the liquid isn't flammable. I need to say a huge, huge thank you to the Patreons. Thank you, Patreons, for being the people that support us day in, month out. We totally freaking appreciate it. And it's kind of crazy to me that there are Patreons still signed up now that were signed up not long after I made the first safety video. That's a long time ago. Anyway, we appreciate you guys. Thank you. Why did I say that home distillation is safer than smoking meat? Well, anecdotal, personal information. The worst thing I've done, the worst accident I've had for distilling in 8 years is I lost a bunch of alcohol that I worked really, really hard on because a glass container cracked and all over the floor. Not cool. Smoking meat and barbecuing for about the same amount of time, I've had 2 giant fireballs coming out of smokers because of doing dumb stuff and grease fire, and one that was not so bad. But I legitimately thought our house was in danger for one of those. And talking to other people, I get the same stories almost every time. The worst thing that's happened to most people distilling is they lose something they care about in the form of alcohol. But I've got a buddy that actually started a house fire with a smoker. He's fine, didn't cause a whole lot of damage, but it was touch and go there for a little while. Follow the safety tips, enjoy the hobby, prove the naysayers wrong, and I'll catch you next time. Keep chasing. See ya.